You're 4,000 meters up on the Bolivian altiplano. The air stings, the ground is frozen half the year, and you're starving. Up here, wheat, corn, and rice all die. One crop survives, a knobby tuber you dig from the dirt. It's the only thing between you and starvation, and in its hardiest varieties, it's poison. Not upset stomach poison, enough natural toxin to leave you cramping, vomiting, or worse. This is the wild ancestor of the potato in your kitchen, and it was the trap these people lived inside. The food that kept them alive was trying to kill them. The title already gave you the answer: clay. So here's the real question. Plain dirt doesn't disarm poison. So how did the Aymara build a farming life on a crop that bites back, using mud thousands of years before anyone could explain why it helped? Here's what they did fast, because it's the door, not the trick. They boiled the bitter potatoes and dipped each bite in a thin gray clay slurry. But not just any mud, a specific clay from specific places. Random dirt does nothing. So, why does that clay disarm a poison? And how did anyone figure it out? Start with the potato. In your kitchen, it's beige, boring, safe, but wild plants can't run from what eats them, so they fight with chemistry. The potato made itself toxic. The poisons have names: glycoalkaloids, mainly solanine and chaconine. They're the plant's built-in pesticide, and they hit your gut and nervous system at once. You've met this poison already. Ever been told not to eat a green potato? Here's what everyone gets wrong. The green is chlorophyll, harmless, but the same light that greens it makes the potato load its real weapon, those glycoalkaloids. The green is just the warning light. Your modern potato still carries the ancestral poison, just bred low enough to be safe. Now the mountain's cruel twist. Up at altitude, the potatoes that survive frost best are the more bitter, more toxic ones. The hardiest crop is the one most likely to make you sick. And there's no gentler valley nearby. Eat the poison or starve. So why does clay work? Here, a folk habit becomes real chemistry. Clay is tiny particles with electrically charged surfaces that grab molecules and hold them. The word is adsorption, and the potato's poison sticks to clay beautifully. Follow one bite. In your gut, the clay clamps onto the toxin, and because your body doesn't absorb clay, it carries the poison straight out. A one-way escort. You keep the energy, the poison rides the mud out. This was tested. Ethnobotanist Timothy Johns, who spent years with the Aymara, put edible clays and this family's glycoalkaloid together under conditions mimicking the human gut. The clay soaked the poison up. The dirt disarms the poison, and you can measure it. Your tongue was part of the system too. Bitterness is one of your body's oldest alarms, a toxin detector screaming, "Spit it out." A baby recoils from it with nobody teaching them. The Aymara had no word for glycoalkaloid, but they could taste it. Johns found they sort potatoes by bitterness with real precision. Their tongues did the lab work, and when the clay pulls the toxin out, the food even tastes safer. And clay wasn't their only answer. They built a second, completely different technology for the same poison: chuño. On freezing nights, they spread the potatoes out to freeze. By day, they thawed and trod the water out underfoot. Freeze, thaw, trample, repeat, then dry them in the sun. The result is freeze-dried potato, centuries before a freezer existed. Light, and it keeps for years, banking harvests against the bad years the high country always sends. And that same cycle leaches the toxin down, which is why the most poisonous varieties are the ones turned into chuño. So look at what they had: a clay that binds the poison, a tongue that sorts the safe potatoes, and a freeze-drying process that strips the toxin and stores the harvest. 3 methods, 1 chemical enemy. This was never one lucky trick. It was a system. And here's the honest part, because it's better than a made-up one. We don't know who figured this out. Not the first person, day, or valley. A muddy potato leaves no recipe in the ground. Clay doesn't fossilize an idea. What we can see is the shape. Generations of trial and error, watching who got sick and who didn't, pairing the right clay with the right potato until it stopped looking like a discovery and just looked like dinner. Was this a lucky Andean one off or something humans keep finding? Eating Earth has a name, geophagy, and it shows up worldwide in cultures that never met. And not just us, in the Amazon, macaws flock to clay riverbanks, maybe to bind the toxins in the seeds they eat. The same trick. Though, be honest, scientists argue about those birds, and many think they're mostly after scarce salt, but the shape rhymes everywhere. Where toxic food meets a hungry animal, the right earth shows up as the fix, not a fluke, a pattern. And one honest limit, the thing that makes the Andean version more impressive, not less. Clay didn't make every bitter potato safe. Variety, dose, preparation, but clay itself, all of it mattered. It worked because the knowledge was exact. Which potato, which clay, prepared which way. The achievement wasn't they ate dirt. It was that they knew precisely which dirt belonged with which food, without a page of chemistry. Now pull back. This stopped being about potatoes. The potato isn't the exception, it's the rule. Cassava is so full of cyanide it can kill you raw, until people worked out a multi-step way to leach it out. Acorns are inedible with tannins until you soak them. Olives are too bitter until they're cured. So much of what became staple food was dangerous until people supplied the missing step. And almost none of those steps has an inventor's name. It's collective knowledge, built by a whole people over generations, held in the culture itself, not one head. The clay was never a tool you could hold. It was chemistry kept alive in a community's memory, an external stomach, a shared liver made of knowledge instead of flesh. And it's not a museum piece. Walk a highland market in Bolivia or Peru today and you'll still find it. Fine edible clay, sold by the bag, still used with the bitter potatoes. So picture yourself back up there, thin air, frozen ground, that bitter potato in your hand. Now you know what to dip it in and exactly why it works. The dirt in your hand is smarter than it looks. People worked that out a long time ago, on a cold mountain with everything to lose, and they never wrote it down. They just passed it to you.